I caught my girlfriend holding hands with her coworker at the festival where I was about to propose. So instead of going through with it, I let him take over the $12,000 setup I had arranged. Now she's spiraling, trying to track me down. My name is Evan, I am 30, and I work in project management for a mid-sized construction firm in Portland. My life is pretty routine: early mornings, job sites, spreadsheets, gym, home, repeat, and I tend to plan everything because my work punishes surprises. My girlfriend Qley is 28, she works in marketing, and we have been together a little over 3 years. We live together in a one-bedroom, split bills in a lopsided way because I make more, and we have one of those shared calendars that only one person actually respects. For the last 6 months, I have been quietly planning a proposal. Not in a cheesy flash mob way, more like something she would actually brag about without rolling her eyes later. Qley loves public moments. She loves being seen. She loves the idea that other people are watching her life like it is a highlight reel. That is not a moral judgment. It is just who she is. She also gets mean when she feels like she is not the main character. The plan was the Winter Lights Festival downtown. It is a big deal here, crowded, loud, all the photo ops she lives for. I booked a private viewing area through an events coordinator, hired a photographer, paid for a small string trio to play one specific song she always had on when we cooked dinner, and arranged a little catered setup with champagne and those stupid fancy desserts she pretends not to like, but always finishes. With permits, deposits, and vendor fees, it was just under $12K. I know that sounds insane. It is. I rationalized it as a one-time thing, and I had the savings. The week leading up to it, Qley was in one of her moods. Snappy about everything. My breathing, my driving, the way I loaded the dishwasher. If I asked what was wrong, she would do this tight smile and say nothing, or she would accuse me of starting drama because I could not handle a strong woman. She had also been talking about her coworker Mason a lot, which I tried not to read into, because people talk about work people. On the afternoon of the festival, I picked her up after she got ready at her friend's place. She came out in a black coat and boots, looked amazing, and immediately complained that my car was too warm. Then she checked her phone, frowned, and said her team might swing by the festival too, because apparently everyone had the same idea. We got there right as the lights came on. I told her I needed to meet the coordinator and confirm timing. She rolled her eyes and said I was acting like her dad. I laughed it off and walked toward the vendor area, feeling that mix of nerves and excitement. I was cutting through the crowd when I spotted Qley ahead of me near a drink stand. And she was holding someone's hand. Not in a friendly, casual way either. Fingers linked. Slow, comfortable, like it was normal. The guy turned his head, and I recognized him immediately. Mason. I stopped like my shoes got glued to the pavement. Qley was half turned toward him, smiling in that soft way she never seems to have for me when we are in public. Mason leaned in close to say something, and she laughed and squeezed his hand like he had earned it. It was not a quick accidental touch. It was comfortable, familiar. My first thought was maybe I am misreading it. Maybe it is some weird work joke. Then Qley lifted their linked hands a little and spun under his arm like they were practicing being cute. That is when my stomach dropped. I felt my face go hot, then cold. I walked closer, not fast, because I did not want to make a scene. The crowd was thick, lights reflecting off everyone's phones, music everywhere. Qley still did not notice me. Mason did, though. His eyes flicked to mine, and he did that quick look away like a guilty kid. Qley finally turned, saw me, and her expression changed in a second. Not guilt. Annoyance. She let go of Mason's hand like it was nothing, and said, "Oh hey." She said it the way you say hi to someone you forgot you invited. Then she looked at my hands, like she expected to see a drink or snacks, and when I had nothing, she actually sighed. I asked what is going on. Calm voice. I was trying to keep it together. Qley rolled her eyes and said, "Relax, we work together." Mason did not say a word. He stared at the ground like it might open up and save him. I said you were holding hands. You were literally linked fingers. Qley shrugged and said it is a festival. People do that. Stop being weird. Then she turned to Mason and did this little smirk like I was the embarrassing one. That smirk is going to live in my head for a long time. I asked her if she wanted to explain why she has been talking about him nonstop and acting like I am an inconvenience all week. Qley snapped back that I am always looking for something to be mad about, and that I should not start a fight when we are supposed to be having fun. Fun. Mason finally spoke and said, "Hey man, it is not like that." He sounded nervous, but also like he had rehearsed the line. Qley cut him off and said, "Evan, do not do this right now." Then she stepped closer to me, lowered her voice, and said, "If you ruin this night, I swear to God, I will not forgive you." That is when I realized she thought she had the upper hand. And I was standing there with a ring in my pocket and a private setup waiting for us 2 blocks away. I stood there for maybe 3 seconds, which felt longer, and ran through my options. I could confront her harder, cause a scene, drag out the truth in front of a crowd. That would not change what I had just seen. It would just make me look unstable. I could also pretend I believed her and move forward with the plan. That felt worse. Qley was watching my face, waiting for me to either apologize or escalate. She has this pattern where if she pushes hard enough, I usually back off to keep things smooth. I have done that before. Not this time. I nodded and said, "You are right. I am not going to ruin the night." Her posture relaxed instantly. She turned back to Mason like the crisis had passed. That told me everything. I stepped back and said, "I actually need to handle something with the coordinator. You two enjoy the festival." Qley waved me off without even looking at me and said, "Do not take forever." I walked away and did not look back. 2 blocks over, inside a rented heated tent, there was a string trio setting up. The photographer was checking lighting angles. A small table was decorated with candles and those gold-rimmed champagne flutes Qley once screenshotted and sent to me saying these are classy. The catering staff had already arranged the desserts in neat rows. It looked good. It looked like something she would post immediately. The event coordinator, a woman named Tara, saw me and smiled like she was about to witness something meaningful. She asked if I was ready. I told her plans had changed. She thought I meant timing. I told her no, I am not proposing anymore. She blinked a few times, clearly trying to process that sentence. I explained in short terms that I just caught my girlfriend holding hands with someone else at the festival. I did not exaggerate. I did not cry. I just stated it. Tara asked if I wanted to cancel everything. Technically, I could not get most of the money back. It was day of, vendors were already here. About $12,000 was already gone either way. I looked around at the setup and realized something. The only person who thought she was about to have the best night of her life was Qley, and she had just chosen to publicly disrespect me. So I asked Tara a different question. Is there any rule about who I can bring into this space once it starts? Tara looked confused at first, like she thought I was in shock. She said, technically once the reservation window starts, the space is mine for 2 hours. I can bring whoever I want as long as it stays within the head count and nobody damages anything. It is already paid. I asked her what happens if I do not show up with my girlfriend. She said nothing. The vendors still get paid. The musicians still play. It just becomes a private event without a proposal. I nodded and asked her to give me 5 minutes. I walked back toward the main crowd. My heart was steady at that point. The worst part had already happened. I was not trying to save the relationship anymore. I was trying to salvage my dignity. Qley and Mason were closer to the main stage now. She had her arm looped through his. Not holding hands this time, but close enough. When she saw me approaching, she immediately dropped her arm and crossed them like she had been standing alone the whole time. "You good now?" she asked. Her tone was sharp, not concerned, annoyed. I said, "I am good. Actually, I have a surprise for you." That caught her attention. She loves that word. Her expression shifted to curiosity. Mason glanced between us, clearly uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable enough to leave. I told her I booked something private nearby, a little setup away from the crowd. Qley's entire face lit up. She asked why I did not tell her sooner. I said I wanted it to be spontaneous. She smirked at Mason like, "See, told you he tries." That comment told me she had been talking about me to him in detail. I said the reservation starts in 10 minutes. If you want to come, we should head over now. She hesitated for half a second, then looked at Mason. He shrugged and said, "I mean, if it is cool." Qley turned back to me and said, "You do not mind if Mason joins, right? It is just drinks." I held eye contact and said I do not mind at all. That was the only true thing I said to her that night. Because at that moment, I was done trying to win her back. I was about to let her watch, in real time, what it feels like to lose something she assumed was guaranteed. The walk to the tent took about 3 minutes. Qley was walking slightly ahead of me now, excited, asking what it was, trying to guess. Mason stayed half a step behind her, like he was not sure if he should be there, but also not backing out. Qley kept saying, "I swear if this is some basic bar thing, I am going to be so annoyed." She laughed after she said it, but she meant it. She always says things like that to keep leverage. When we turned the corner and the tent came into view, her pace slowed. The lights were warm inside. The trio had started playing softly, and the catering table was visible from the entrance. It looked intentional. Thought out. Qley actually grabbed my arm then, like she suddenly remembered I existed. Wait, what is this? She said, almost whispering. Her eyes were wide, scanning everything. Tara greeted us at the entrance and said, "Welcome. We are ready whenever you are." She looked at me for confirmation. I nodded. Mason stopped just inside the tent and looked around like he had walked into something private. He said, "This is nice, man." Qley stepped forward, taking in the candles, the champagne, the photographer discreetly adjusting his lens. She turned to me slowly, and I saw it click in her head. This was not random drinks. Her voice dropped. "Evan, what is this?" I reached into my coat pocket and felt the ring box. I had rehearsed what I was going to say for months. Instead, I pulled my hand out empty. I said this was supposed to be me asking you to marry me tonight. The trio kept playing because they had no idea what was happening. The photographer froze mid-movement. Qley's face went through shock, then something else. Not joy. Calculation. She looked at Mason, then back at me, then at the setup again. She said you were going to propose. Here. Like this. I nodded. Mason stepped back slightly, hands up, like he was suddenly aware he was standing in someone else's future. Qley's first words after that were not "I love you." Not "I had no idea." She said, "Why did you not tell me to dress better?" That was the moment everything inside me settled. Not exploded. Not shattered. Just settled. I had just told her I was planning to ask her to marry me. We were standing in a heated tent with live musicians, a photographer, catered food, and a $12,000 setup. Her coworker was 5 feet away, and her first concern was that she did not dress strategically enough. I said, "You look fine." She frowned and adjusted her coat, like she was suddenly self-conscious about the cut of it. She asked if the photographer had already taken pictures. The photographer awkwardly said not yet. Mason cleared his throat and said, "I can step outside if this is not the right time." Qley did not tell him to leave. She did not even look at him. She was staring at the ring box outline in my pocket. Then she said, "So why did you not go through with it?" There was no apology, no denial about what I saw, just a demand for explanation. I kept my voice steady and said, "Because I walked up on you holding hands with him 10 minutes ago." Silence. The trio kept playing like background music for a documentary. Qley rolled her eyes. Actually rolled them. She said, "Are you still on that?" It was nothing. "You are overreacting." I asked her directly if she and Mason were involved beyond work. She crossed her arms and said, "You are embarrassing yourself right now. In front of everyone." Mason finally spoke and said, "Qley, maybe we should just be honest." She shot him a look that could cut metal. He stopped talking. That told me more than anything she could have admitted. I took the ring box out of my pocket and placed it on the dessert table. I did not open it. I did not kneel. I just set it down. I said this was for someone who respected me in public and in private. I do not propose to someone who makes me feel like a backup plan. Her face changed then. Not sadness. Not remorse. Panic. She stepped toward me and lowered her voice. "Do not do this. Not here." I said, "I am not doing anything. I am simply not moving forward." Then I turned to Mason. I told him since he already had her hand earlier, he might as well enjoy the rest of what I paid for. And I walked out of the tent. I did not sprint. I did not slam anything. I walked out at a normal pace and let the cold air hit me like a reset button. About halfway down the block, my phone started vibrating. I did not look at it. I already knew who it was. The only person who did not have my number was the photographer. I kept walking until I reached my car. I sat inside with the engine off and finally checked my phone. 8 missed calls from Qley. 3 texts. The first one said, "Where are you?" The second said, "This is not funny." The third said, "Get back here right now." No apology. No explanation. Just commands. 5 minutes later, another text came through. "Why would you humiliate me like that?" That one almost made me laugh. I stood there calmly, explained why I was not proposing, and left without yelling. In her version, I humiliated her. I started the car and drove home. We both are on the lease. I did not do anything dramatic like change locks. That would have been illegal and unnecessary. Instead, I packed a duffel bag with essentials and went to my brother's place across town. On the way, I called the property manager and asked about early termination clauses and subleasing options. I wanted information before emotions. Qley called again. I answered this time. She immediately started in with how I blindsided her, how I made her look stupid in front of Mason, how everyone in the tent was staring. I let her talk. When she paused, I said one thing. "Were you or were you not holding his hand?" She said it was harmless. I asked again, "Are you emotionally involved with him?" She said, "That is none of your business if you are going to throw tantrums." That was enough. I told her I am staying elsewhere for now. We will discuss logistics this week. Then I hung up. She started texting again. This time the tone shifted. It went from anger to panic in about 10 messages. You are really overreacting. Call me back. We can fix this. Mason did not mean anything. You are seriously throwing away 3 years over nothing. That last message is the one that confirmed I made the right call. Nothing. By the time I got to my brother's place, my phone had over 30 notifications from Qley. Missed calls, texts, even 2 messages on Instagram. I did not respond. I needed one clean decision, not a back and forth. I sat on my brother's couch and read through everything once. The pattern was consistent. First she blamed me. Then she minimized what happened. Then she pivoted to fear. You are acting crazy. It was just a hand. He is just a coworker. You embarrassed me. Please call me. We need to talk. I love you. That last one showed up almost an hour after the others. It felt inserted, not natural. At no point did she say I am sorry. At no point did she say it was inappropriate. There was no ownership. Just pressure. I thought about what would happen if I kept answering. She would cry. She would frame it as me sabotaging something good. She would insist I misinterpreted what I saw. She would probably promise to set boundaries with Mason without actually admitting she crossed one. I do not argue in circles. I manage projects for a living. When something fails inspection, you either fix it properly or you shut it down. This did not pass inspection, so I sent one final message. I said I am not continuing this relationship. We will handle lease and belongings this week. Do not contact me tonight. Then I blocked her number. I blocked her on Instagram, on Facebook, even on LinkedIn because she once messaged me there during a fight. I did not do it out of spite. I did it because I know how she operates. She escalates when she feels ignored. Blocking removed the channel. Within 5 minutes, my brother's phone started ringing. Qley. He looked at me and raised an eyebrow. I shook my head. He declined the call. Then she texted him asking if I was there. She was spiraling. Not because she lost me emotionally. Because she lost control of the narrative. The next morning, I woke up to an email from her. Subject line. We need to fix this. She was running out of platforms. And I had not even told you what happened next at our apartment. I went back to the apartment the next afternoon while Qley was at work. I knew her schedule. She had a client meeting every Tuesday at 10 across town. I was not sneaking around. I texted her before I blocked her that we would handle logistics this week, and this was logistics. I brought my brother with me. Not for drama, just as a neutral presence. When breakups involve shared leases and expensive electronics, it is smart to have a witness. The apartment looked normal. Her shoes by the door. The throw blanket folded the way she likes it. My laptop still on the desk. It felt strange how quickly something can become temporary. I packed my clothes, my personal documents, my watch collection, and a few items I had paid for outright. I did not touch anything that was clearly hers. I took photos of every room before leaving, so there would be no debate later about damage or missing items. While I was packing, my brother checked the mail. There was a small envelope addressed to both of us. Inside was a printed confirmation from the events company thanking us for hosting such a special engagement celebration and inviting us to tag them in photos. I almost appreciated the irony. Before leaving, I reset the Wi-Fi password since the account is in my name. I also removed my card from our shared streaming accounts and our joint grocery delivery app. Not to be petty, just to separate finances cleanly. I emailed the property manager confirming I would be pursuing lease reassignment and asked about timeline options. When we walked out, I felt calm. Not angry, not devastated, just clear. About 2 hours later, my brother texted me a screenshot. Qley had posted a vague Instagram story. Some people will sabotage their own happiness because of insecurity. No names, no context, just that. Mutual friends started messaging me within the hour, asking what happened, asking if we were okay. I did not respond publicly. I am not interested in competing narratives. Around 6 that evening, an unknown number called me. I let it go to voicemail. It was Qley. She sounded different. Less sharp. More frantic. She said she came home and half my stuff was gone. She asked if I was seriously moving out without even talking. She said Mason was just being friendly and that I was twisting things. Then she said something that made everything click into place. She said I did not think you would actually leave. That was the problem. She never thought I would. After I heard that voicemail, I did not feel angry. I felt validated. She did not think I would actually leave. That means everything she said and did at that festival was calculated with the assumption that I would absorb it, that I would argue, maybe sulk, then eventually propose anyway because the setup was already paid for and 3 years is a long time to walk away from. She misjudged me. The next few days were administrative. I did not unblock her. We communicated strictly by email about the lease. I kept every message short and factual. Dates, deadlines, options, no emotion. She tried to drift back into relationship talk more than once. She wrote things like, "We are really going to throw this away over a misunderstanding." I responded only to the logistical parts and ignored the rest. The property manager confirmed that if one of us qualified individually, we could assume the lease. Qley makes enough on paper, but it would stretch her budget. I offered to sign the reassignment paperwork and remove myself completely. I did not ask for compensation for the festival. I considered it the cost of clarity. A mutual friend eventually told me Qley and Mason have been spending a lot of time together at work. Apparently, people in her office were not surprised by any of this. That stung for about 5 minutes. Then it reinforced that I did not imagine what I saw. About a week later, I received one final long email from her. It was the closest thing to accountability I got. She admitted she liked the attention Mason gave her. She said it made her feel desired. She insisted it never crossed a physical line beyond holding hands. Maybe that is true. Maybe it is not. It does not matter. I responded with one paragraph. I said I am not interested in competing for basic respect. I wish you well. Please send confirmation once the lease transfer is complete. That was the last direct communication. I got the signed lease reassignment 2 weeks later. I moved the rest of my things out on a Saturday morning. She was not home. People have asked if I regret not proposing anyway, forcing the moment, claiming what was mine. The honest answer is no. If someone thinks you will not leave, they will test how far they can go. I let her find out exactly where that line was.